What is the most shocking thing you've heard, witnessed, experienced upon meeting your child's new boyfriend, girlfriend? Elaborate please. It was just on this morning. First time my mother met my high school girlfriend was walking into my bedroom with my girlfriend completely naked on the bed and me fully clothed on the computer. Attaboy. Edit. Shit guys, I always wanted my top rated comment to be something insightful and thought provoking. He recounted the story of when he drove home so drunk he lost a tire hitting something, then drove on the M4 at least 4 miles down the interstate. Thankfully he's sober now. But is that something you want to talk about the first time you meet me? Hey, man. I'm the best drunk driver I know. Ex-girlfriend's mom greeted me with, "Did you convince my daughter to go on birth control so you could fuck her dart?" I was shocked to say the least because we had only been dating for a few weeks and she was a virgin. I wasn't pushing the issue because I really liked her. In my confused state, the GF at the time explained to me that she told her mom she wanted to have sex with me and needed birth control. First encounter with her mom and I never recovered from that. She hated me. "How dare you plan to fuck my daughter?" Well mom, I was planning on taking things slow. However, to be honest, I can now think of nothing else. I think I've had my daily dose of irony. Lol. Yay, pretty much lol. She straight up didn't believe that I didn't pressure her and thought I would back down at the prospect of sitting at the doctor with her while she got the BC. Couldn't stand me. Funny in the long run. But man, that was a oh shit moment. Mom, there's this guy I really like. I'm thinking about starting birth control because I'm very attracted to him and I'd like to be ready if something happens. I want to do the responsible thing and talk to you about it instead of making some huge mistakes. What is his name? I will hate fuck his skull and burn the remains. You only have one testicle? Should have said no. You were into the pull-out method. A quote from my dad. I didn't expect her to be black. Nothing negative, both of my parents just didn't see it coming. One of the first times I met her, my Irish American mother-in-law said, "We're so happy you're Irish, but really we're just glad you're not black." Also, I'm not Irish. Either she's black or me, neither are the only responses that come to mind. When I was 16 I met this girl who went to high school across town through a buddy who was dating her friend. Our parents were pretty liberal and we spent most of our weekends getting high and drunk in the pool house and swimming when we wanted to cool off. Needless to say, it took about 3 days before I lost my V card to this girl and it was the awesomest. Here's the thing. When you're 16 and you find a girl who is DTF, you never let that go. I was immediately her boyfriend. Despite the fact that I didn't know that much about her, I knew everything that I needed to know. She had a vagina and she let me put my dick in it. Week 2 of this torrid romance and something isn't quite right in the land down under. It was really burning when I pissed. Like every time. I went to Catholic school so I knew all about how Satan invades extramarital sex and fills your lust hole with STDs. I knew I had one. The only question was which one. A lot of people would ask, "This chick just gave you dick rot. You dumped her, right?" Let me just refer you to the previous statement. I was 16 and she was letting me have sex with her. We only got more serious, like getting close to meet the parents serious. But love didn't cure whatever evil was festering in my penis, and I had to schedule a doctor's appointment. In the exam room, I had to fess up to my doctor, who I had always secretly suspected of being gay. My terrible suspicions that I had third-degree dick rot with a chance of AIDS. I had to pee in a cup, and he manually examined my penis. He asked me why I suspected I had caught an STD, and, in the spirit of doctor-patient confidentiality, I told him everything. Which came out to, I met a random girl from across town and I've been humping her everywhere. Pool, bushes, suburbans, rugs, carpets, dirt piles. I don't know much about her, but if she's willing to sex me up, she's probably kind of a slut. It took a week, but the results came back. I had a benign UTI, most likely from bareback riding in dirt piles. Clean it up was his advice. That was a giant relief, and a fuck you to Sister Helen, who had convinced me that God punishes all fornicators with a lifelong curse of dick fire. Everything seemed to be great. The penis problem cleared up and this girl and I kept seeing each other. After a few months she invited me to her family dinner. Her mom was nice and pretty hot. Her dad was my doctor. Perfect story. That ending. You win. This was only the 4th comment I read and I know that there sure as fuck is no way anyone can beat this. I'm intrigued by what happened and then what eventually became of you two. I'll leave this here, just because I think the story ends where it should, but for those who want some Animal House style wrap up, here it is. All in all, it was a super awkward moment, for me, because it took me a while, months, to believe that he wasn't just waiting for the right time to confront me about it. I couldn't look him in the eyes, and I couldn't look her mom in the eyes because I was staring at her chest convinced that he had told her, but it turned out that her dad was super cool. He never even mentioned anything other than telling me that I should start seeing a different doctor. He let me drive his super nice car and they took me on family vacations. They even let me sleep over in the same room as their daughter. As for the girl, we dated through most of high school. She was a year younger than me, so we broke up when I went off to college. She actually went to the same college that I did, and we got back together for a little while, but it didn't work out. Edit. I implied she was a woman of loose morals, but I removed it. We were just different people by the time college rolled around and should never have tried getting back together. She worked up the street and during the summer I was working nights, so during the day after she got out there was a few hours before I had to go to work. She would come over every day, come to my bedroom, and I was able to seduce her into taking off her clothes and letting me do unspeakable things. She would not take off my clothes and would not let me fuck her. After a while I got a little bored, so I'd fool around a little then let her just lay there on my bed while I went on the internet. One day when my mom was supposed to be at work she just came waltzing into my room, as mothers so often do, and saw her just sitting there. I like to imagine that she only saw my girlfriend naked and was confused, as my computer desk was around a bend in the room. She never brought it up ever either, never mentioned that nude encounter. She would not take off my clothes and would not let me fuck her. I don't know what is worse, being friend-zoned or being teased to that extreme. It eventually happened. She was 15 and a virgin, so looking back she was probably really nervous and I was probably overly aggressive in my youth. Our first time in my tiny twin bed I actually ended up breaking the bed. That's my boy. Attaboy. When I was an angsty youth, I used to fingerblast my girlfriend in the backseat of her car while her parents sat in the front, driving us around. I would beat the shit out of 15-year-old me. Fingerblast. FTFY. Also, I did this too. I was a terrible teenager. We thought we were so sneaky. We were fucking dumb. They knew they knew. They can smell your cum. So they just endured their own daughter getting fingered right behind them. Sounds like they've got some of their own problems. Not really sure how I would react besides committing a felony. Slamming on the brakes does wonders on people who aren't prepared for it. If I knew my daughter was being fingerblasted in the backseat I would be doing more than brake checking them. I'd start fingerblasting mom right in front of those damn fingerblasting kids. I wanna finger bang bang you into my life. Girl, you like to finger bang and that's alright. I've never felt so lucky to be homeschooled. That sounds awkward as hell. You don't get a lot of ass at homeschool? Does my own count? Ugh, I was the girlfriend in question. I had come over to my long-distance relationship boyfriend's apartment on the way out of town. I had dressed in a plaid skirt, fishnets, combat boots, and a low-cut black tank because I wanted to leave him with a good memory. So he's got me pinned face first against the wall with my skirt flipped up and he's fingering me when his dad walks in. Apparently he'd come by early to take him to lunch and drop him at his job. I was absolutely mortified during the entire lunch with his dad's girlfriend, and my boyfriend. I had dressed in a plaid skirt, fishnets, combat boots, and a low-cut black tank because I wanted to leave him with a good memory. Ah, the late 90s. How I miss you. I miss that outfit. So do all men who remember the late 90s. I guess I was a little out of the time frame. I'd watched a good deal of Daria when I was younger, and adopted the look very early in the 2000s. I had dressed in a plaid skirt, fishnets, combat boots, and a low-cut black tank because I wanted to leave him with a good memory. You know 12 years old is below the age of consent almost everywhere. Bahaha. It's so hard to find a plaid skirt in adult sizes that aren't entirely indecent. Not Mexico. Dad had probably never been more proud of his son. But yeah, I can see why that might have been awkward for you. I ended up marrying the boyfriend about 3 years ago. It still comes up occasionally. the story or the skirt? I would just say yes, and leave it at that. But the skirt was lost in a move. Your husband's dad has it. Oh, they call that a father-in-law. I had dressed in a plaid skirt, fishnets, combat boots, and a low-cut black tank. It's ebony darkness dementia Raven way. Not a parent. But when I brought my first girlfriend home I was too embarrassed to say anything to my parents. So we went directly to my room and started fooling around. Here's what transpired. My mom opens the door to my bedroom and stopped mid-sentence. Hey, I was thinking we could have turkey for. I awkwardly removed my hand from the front of my girlfriend's unbuttoned jeans. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you had company. Yeah, this is Caitlin. Hi Caitlin. Did you want to join us for supper? Sorry. Then we all had a super awkward dinner together. Fun times. Oh, you Shaunus Maximus. I'm respecting your privacy by knocking but asserting my authority as your mother by coming in anyway. Fairly odd parents, that was my shit. God, I hated that shit. Then I enlisted and gave everyone permission to barge in on me unannounced. Fuck me. You gave everyone permission to barge in and fuck you? That doesn't sound like a solution. Sounds fun though. Moms don't give a fuck. I never thought I would strike a teenager until I saw a boy smack my daughter's ass in front of me with impunity. Well, what'd you do, Pops? I struck him. You smacked his ass, didn't you? Tit for tat. We're talking about ass, not tits just yet. Are you gonna whoop me? Where at? How did it go? Was he injured? Did he come back? I backhanded him across the face. The only thing that was injured was his pride. Surprisingly, my daughter didn't hate my guts and they have since stopped talking or whatever kids that aren't having sex yet these days do. Well, you sure whistled dictum edit. Well then. My highest upvoted comment is about a woman slapping her daughter's boyfriend. I'm glad you exist. Feel free to follow me around. Sure. Great parenting, Whistledik. To be honest, I've done this on accident. Me and my girlfriend are adults. But we went out for her kid brother's birthday party and while walking in front of her parents and without thinking I gave her a playful smack on the buns. I didn't catch a beating. But she did turn pretty red and I did my best to play it off like nothing had just happened. If my dad's Reddit name was Whistledik I would die. Are you gonna whoop me? Not again. Yes, and he looked me in the eye while he did it. More of a degrading way than explicitly sexual. Shudder. When I first met my ex's dad, I thought in my young, naive 17-year-old brain that it would be a great idea to go in for a big, manly handshake. He'd broken his wrist in a cycling accident the week before. I can still hear the crack it made in my nightmares. I also may or may not have let him drive himself to the hospital while I had disappointing teenage sex with his daughter. Hager, you broke the man's hand and his daughter's hymen in one afternoon. Good show. And then he broke up with her and broke her heart. And then went home and played some video games and broke some records. And then the father found out where he lived and broke his nose. And then I came and broke this thread. While I had disappointing teenage sex with his daughter. The abstinence people should take this tactic instead of the pregnancy scare thing. I'd rather have disappointing sex than no sex. I also may or may not have let him drive himself to the hospital while I had disappointing teenage sex with his daughter. Well, he could have called an ambulance. Not your fault, mate. Not his fault. He broke the guy's hand. Ambulances are for emergencies. Ambulance costs are ridiculous, and some insurance companies won't cover the cost unless it's a life or death issue. Source: insurance said I should have called a cab or bummed a ride from a stranger when my son was bit by a dog about 30 minutes from home. Had to pay $200 for the ambulance. My boyfriend in high school was a senior at a different school. I was a sophomore. At their school homecoming game it was a tradition for all seniors to dress up in camouflage. So my mom first met him when he was dressed head to toe in black and white camouflage and wasn't aware of the tradition. As he was walking toward us she said, "Oh god, number," and didn't realize I'd heard her. To be fair, he was pure scum. To be fair, he was pure scum. As he was walking toward us she said, "Oh god, number, honey, our daughter is dating one of those Alex Jones nut jobs. Do something. It's okay. Honey, at dinner tonight I'll start cleaning my anti-gun propaganda. That'll scare him off. I'm not a parent, but an older brother. My sister brought a boy home who didn't know how to use a knife and fork. Edit. He was not Asian. Edit again. Apparently fork mechanics are a point of contention on Reddit. Like how? My boyfriend can't hold a knife and fork correctly because he has a fine motor skill deficiency. His writing looks like a 6-year-old wrote it too. This is how I and most I've seen hold a fork. Imgur webpage. This is how he held it. Imgur webpage. That just seems uncomfortable to hold a fork like that. This is how you hold a fork when you want to stab somebody. Well, what did she expect bringing home a recent Chinese immigrant? Imagine the culture shock from his side. He goes to meet the parents of this nice young girl. He wants to make a good impression. And he looks down at his plate and oh god, what are these? What happened to chopsticks? I was not prepared for this. He must have felt really bad. I'm just sitting here waiting for a story that might sound like me. My daughter brought her new boyfriend home for the first time and he was a fucking wolf. Not even a smart one. Either. He just stayed silent the whole time we ate dinner and stared out into space. Then he went and took a steaming shit in the living room that filled the house with some rancid smell. My daughter looked like she definitely was interested in him. Though, I just have no idea what she sees in him. Do me. My daughter brought her new boyfriend home for the first time and he was just not good. I mean, he wasn't absolutely terrible, but he wasn't normal either. Everything he did seemed subpar. Apparently she thought so too because she dumped him after they first had sex. My turn. My daughter's boyfriend seemed normal at first. His name was Billy, and he seemed like a good kid, even though he had some sort of weird cowbell necklace on. But oh, he was a crafty one. It wasn't until we caught Billy chewing on our carpet that we realized he was a goat. Caprid. Definition of caprid, by the Free Dictionary webpage. Edit. My inbox has blown up and this guy is covered in fallout. Suggestion: if you request a story, write a story for someone else. I'll try to write some more myself. I knew my daughter liked her boyfriend because she was absolutely glowed when she told us about him. My wife and I invited him over to dinner, and I have to admit I was charmed by him. He had an absolutely radiant smile. Everything was fine until I asked him to say the Brachorishna. Turns out he's an Episcopalian. I was over at my boyfriend's family's house for Easter where we all got together for an Easter egg hunt, dinner, and party games. My boyfriend's middle sister had recently started seeing a guy she met on eHarmony, who apparently lived in Toronto. She spent the afternoon telling us about him, that he owned a delivery business and a flower shop, was originally from somewhere in Africa but moved to England and then here, etc. My boyfriend's brother joked that he was a drug dealer for his delivery business, and we laughed as she tried to defend him. So he finally drives up in a very expensive car, wearing a t-shirt with arrows pointing to the shoulders and the caption "Place legs here" written across the chest. Everyone started interrogating him, but he was avoidant of everything. I worked in a flower shop for 7 years, and he couldn't name any flowers. Granted, his English wasn't perfect and he was very awkward, but the drug dealer possibility became more likely as time went on. Afterwards he went full-blown creepy stalker. She broke up with him, since he couldn't explain anything, and he sent her 40+ text messages trying to get her back, wrote poems about how much it hurt to miss her and said he'd drop by her work. She blocked his number, reported him on eHarmony, and everyone in the family has sworn a pact to immediately call police if we see him anywhere. It was like standing next to a train wreck as it happened. Kinda cruel of you guys to treat him that way when he went out of his way to dress up in his nice shirt. Well, did she put her legs there? Asking the important questions. When I brought my first serious boyfriend home to meet my mom, he was wearing a Misfits sweatshirt. My mom, bless her, ignored his dyed mohawk, gauged ears and pierced nose and said that she liked his panda sweatshirt. I laughed so hard I cried. Got to give him credit though. He stuck around for 4 years. Not me, but a friend's new girlfriend upon meeting his dad. Yeah, fucking old. In her defense, she was a newfie. What the duck is a newfie? Newfoundland. Edit. Duck. I don't know if calling newfies rednecks is really fair. All of the newfies that I know are orders of magnitude nicer than the rednecks that I know. Rednecks were typically farmers, where newfies generally made their living on the water. Wekrakwa. Full is kind of overselling how many people live in the vast nothingness of the prairies. I created another account for this BC. My son knows my other account. My son's girlfriend was having intimate conversations with my son in the living room. Even though I was sitting right there, I coughed and left to give them some room, but when I came back, I found them fucking on the sofa. I had to tell them to stop because my wife was on the way and she would be pissed. My son's girlfriend will just not stop singing Let It Go, and it is really starting to wear on my son. I should mention they are 5 and he has a girlfriend. That kid is going places. Not collage, or college, nor college. Collage. Neither are you apparently. Wouldn't have been surprised if she was 15 either. Or 35. Really, everyone is singing that fucking song. He could let her go. Boy getting started at 5. What a player. Mom spaghetti. When my mother was 14, she wanted to date this boy who was 17. But my grandparents wouldn't let her, because they just don't trust him. My mom argues with her parents, but they stand firm on their decision. Flash forward about 8 years, my mom is happily married. Her parents show her the newspaper, and that boy, grown up now, made the paper. Drug deal gone wrong, armed robbery, double homicide and suicide. TLDR, a spree of crimes ending with suicide. And, sometimes you just gotta trust a parent's instincts. Maybe he did that because people never trusted him based off gut reaction and he fell into a deep crumbling depression. Shit, Up's grandparents are terrible. Look what they caused. OP. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe parent instincts are right sometimes, but I think I'm right when I drink iced tea and coffee and my parents are overreacting when they get mad at me for drinking it. Wow, junkie much? Do you inject that iced tea to your veins? My most awkward meeting. I had met her mom briefly once before of a girlfriend's parent. Was 9 years ago when I was 18. I was sitting on her mom's couch chatting with my girlfriend while we texted each other dirty things. We would pretend to talk about being seniors, looking forward to graduating, etc. But we were really discussing the dirty and raunchy kind of teenage sex that abstinence-only education warned you about. As we texted more, I started to get a little excited. Nothing I couldn't control, but damn it felt dangerous and naughty, which got the adrenaline flowing. Her mom was in the kitchen the entire time cooking up a meal, leaving us to our secret naughty conversation. I told my then girlfriend to put her phone between her legs while it was on vibrate. She didn't. I called her repeatedly. Watching her get hornier got me hornier. The blood must flow. There was no fighting it anymore. My dick was now hard knowing she was ready for some primetime sexy times. Let's pause for a second and examine this situation. I'm sitting on the couch hard as a rock. She's sitting next to me with a phone between her legs while I all it repeatedly. What 18-year-old guy wouldn't be aroused? I misjudged one thing. How quickly her mom could prepare an entire meal. Panic time. Her mom walked in the living room to tell us dinner was done, but it had to cool down a bit. She wanted to take this time to get to know me. I had met her once before, but only briefly. I'd only said hi to her at this point. She had perched on the arm of the love seat, which was at a 90-degree angle to the couch we were sitting on. She sat there like a judging vulture disguised as Betty Homemaker. Her voice and smile were gentle, but her eyes were fiery and alive, like she plucked them from Hannibal Lecter's head. Are you excited to graduate? Yes, mom. When I'm nervous I get really polite. Are you too hungry? I made enough to feed everyone and send its Snagitwid home with plenty of leftovers. Thank you, mom. My boner was about to burst through my pants. My balls were starting to hurt from all the trapped blood. Call me Kathy, or mom if you want to. I'd rather not. In fact, I'd rather be sowing my wild oats in your daughter and praying for crop failure. Okay, Kathy, I'll remember that. Where are my manners? I almost forgot to mention that we hug in this family. Oh Christ. Fuck. Please number. Not now at this exact moment. I haven't had the chance to covertly tuck my cock into the waistband of my jeans. Stand up and give me a hug. Mister. No. There was no way I have escaped this situation without killing 2 people and hiding the bodies. I did it. I stood up and hugged this woman. As soon as it happened I could feel my dick press into her. She knew. I knew she knew because she backed away from it. As soon as she did I had an involuntary dick twitch that for a split second pushed it back into her thigh. Fuck. We parted from our hug. We both tried to be polite, but the shame had set in. Dinner was awkward. I wolfed down my food without making eye contact with Kathy. I made an excuse to leave after dinner. Went home. rubbed one out, and wallowed in shame and embarrassment. TLDR, Rock over London, Rock on Chicago, Mitsubishi, the word is getting around. For a hot second there I thought, what is this leg trap and how do I perfect it, before I realized that I do not, in fact, have a penis. Seriously though, what the hell is a leg trap? It's been almost an hour and no one has offered to lend you one. Reddit is getting soft. Reddit is getting soft, because the leg trap is working. Should have side hugged. I'm not a parent, but I clogged my girlfriend's toilet after pooping and flooded the entire bathroom with poop water, destroying all their bathroom rugs. A family friend brought home a guy who told us he jumped out of Mission Plane in WW1 and that he used to star in some TV show in Canada. He was 33 in 2012. Not a parent, but the night my sister's ex met my parents, he went off on a tangent about how proud he was not to work, and how good it is that the state gives him food stamps and welfare. My dad, who's been a consistently hard worker his entire life, about blew a fuse that night. The ex continued his dickassery for some time, but shortly after he recommended to my sister that they move into Section 8 housing. That's when she had the sense to call it quits. I was working at a pizza place in my teenage years and started talking to this girl. She came over one night when my parents were asleep. My mother is hard of hearing and my father is a rock when he's asleep. She comes over and we start fooling around and we pass out. I was thinking that since the next day was a work day, she could leave after they left for work. We wake up and we're both naked. So being 17 and looking at a naked girl, we start to fool around again. Then I go for the money shot and get some in her eye. She starts crying and saying it hurts a lot. We leave my room to go to the bathroom so she could watch her face. Now you have to pass the computer room to get to the bathroom, and guess who's sitting there? My mom. She took the day off to pick up my cousin from the airport and was on TMZ.com killing time. Her reaction was quite priceless and humiliating as she turned to say good morning and saw me and this girl she never met before but naked, and that was the last time she came over my house. Work was pretty awkward after that day too. TLDR, girl comes over for fun time and I go for the money shot and get some in her eye. Mom sees both of us but naked and kicks her out. When I was in 9th grade, I went to my GF's house at the time while her parents were supposed to be at work. We were just hanging downstairs when her dad comes through the door totally unexpectedly. I still to this day have no idea how he unlocked the door so damn fast. He sat me down and talked to me and asked if I thought coming over while nobody was home was the right thing to do, and I nervously said yes. Shouldn't he have asked his daughter that question? My mom and current wife met for the first time at 2 AM in my parents' living room, both wearing no bottoms. Not a parent, but I met my high school girlfriend's parents when they returned early from a long walk to find us 69ing on their family room couch. I was calmly and sternly asked to leave the house. Then I proceeded to back my dad's car over a random tool lying in the middle of their driveway, popping a tire and causing a loud clunking noise with every tire rotation. I had already fucked up with her parents. I wasn't going to ruin my dad's car and have him kill me too. So I attempted a speedy tire change in the driveway, praying her parents were busy elsewhere. I couldn't find which tire had blown or what caused it. One of the front tires seemed flatter, so I started changing it. As I did, her garage door opens. Her father is in his car attempting to leave for work and I have now blocked his driveway. He stayed in his running car the entire time I changed the tire, and as I finished, started the car, and began backing out of the driveway again, I heard clunk and realized I had in fact changed the wrong tire. So I pulled to the side of the driveway to let him leave and allow me to change the correct tire. Instead, he stayed in his running car, watching me the entire time. He wasn't going to leave until the dumbus who defiled his daughter on his family room couch and spent 20 minutes changing a wrong tire left his property. A week later, my girlfriend hands me a check from her parents to cover the cost of the tire, as it was their fault for leaving the tool in the driveway. My dad had already bought new tires, so I spent the money on beer. Dr. met GF's parents while 69ing. Her dad then inadvertently paid for my next few weekends of drinking. So I am not a parent, but when I met my girlfriend's mom for breakfast, I ate the whole family's sausage and bacon thinking it was the plate they had left for me since I showed up late. They were too nice to say anything. Honestly, if you mistook the amount of bacon and sausage they had left out as just for you, it's their own damn fault for not having enough breakfast meats. You should be insulted. Fuck poor people. Meter already. I want to know how much bacon and sausage you ate. It's weird because I read this first. It's because this was posted first. The first time my dad met one of my girlfriends from college was when he just waltzed into my room and found us in the middle of 6, doggy style, facing the door. Those 2 seconds of eye contact felt like a lifetime. He never mentioned it again though. I like to think he felt a ounce of pride, and he got to see some 19-year-old boobs. The handsome little fucker sang a song about screwing my hot daughter. Cunt. My hot daughter. This is how you get strippers. Without stripers. Driving on our roads would be a fucking nightmare. Edit. It said stripers. Cheeky monkey. Is that a Modern Family reference? Finally. I just wanna do you. Do you wanna do me? Do me? Before I started dating we had a kind of friends with benefits thing going on. And my sir has the tendency to tell everything to her mom. So she told her how much we banged, about my recreational drug use, our drinking till we both passed out type of shit. This was all good and well because I never met the mom, but now I have to sit across her at dinner tables knowing good and well she knows I drunkenly and coked up fucked her daughter in a bar after closing time. Fun times. How are people this open with their parents? WHORU. My friend's boyfriend upon meeting her strict Catholic mother. Did you know pineapple makes cum taste sweeter? My grandma told me about a neighbor family that had a bit of a spat as she called it, out in their front lawn. The daughter was all in tears and trying to get away from the boyfriend. I guess they were probably in their late teens early 20s and this was in the 1950s. The father came out to run the boyfriend off. The father was known as the meekest, kindest guy on the street. When the father comes out the door the young man got really mad and said something to the effect of "This is what you get for dragging your parents into our problem," and flat punched her. Grandma said he hit her really hard. The dad went postal. He was a veteran as many men of his age were then. And grandma said it showed as he unleashed upon him. She never witnessed such savagery in her life. He beat the boyfriend for 15 solid minuets and as sirens were heard in the distance approaching he went inside and re-emerged with a large knife and cut both the boyfriend's hands off about midway between his wrists and elbows. Then, sat sobbing for an hour on the sidewalk with his daughter. She said he was never arrested and that the boyfriend turned out to be a wanted man. Edit. Upon further inquiry to another family member, the daughter was pregnant. The punch the boyfriend landed on the daughter was to her stomach. The sirens were the ambulances after she started to bleed and the big knife was a cavalry saber. When the dad swung the sword the boy put his arms up in defense and that was that. Edit 2. I have no clue why he was wanted. This was a story I was told when I was 10 decades ago. I asked my aunt about the rest of the details after I posted my first time. My rendition was how I remembered being told of it as a child. My aunt didn't witness it firsthand. She was shoved inside as we're all the young kids. She was told what happened later on. Cut his hands off? What the fuck? Midway through his wrist and elbow? So through the bone? What the fuck? The fuck? What the fuck? I just don't believe this. But I want to believe, mother. I really do. I believed this up until he cut the dude's hands off. That's why I get tested for PTSD regularly. Just met my girlfriend's parents over the weekend. I can tell you they were surprised at just how devastatingly handsome I am. As if coming out to my parents wasn't already a shocking news. I told them a year later that I'm dating someone who's only a couple of years younger than my parents and that I'm only interested in men far older than my age. We've been together for almost 5 years, married just 2 months ago, and my parents are now very accepting of us both. Strangely they were more bummed out by me being gay than our age difference. Maybe they really wanted grandkids. Some people get screwy when grandkids are involved. Removed. Could this be an almost exact story as you not chappy? Whoa. Choo choo to the top bro. It's almost as if people were willing to lie for karma. Yeah, he can't lie with a name like Fish. Not true. I'm sure his girlfriend got a sausage of her own. Yikes. Definitely a dinner to remember. My son's best friend for years, since they were in elementary school. This dinner occurred towards the end of their senior year in high school. Came over for what I believed to be a run-of-the-mill evening. The kids would always hang out together. usually spending the night at my place a few times a week, playing video games or whatever it is they do. Anyway, as we all sat down we made a toast, when our son unravels the fact that him and his buddy have some news for us. My wife and I figured they had got into some trouble at school or something along those lines, but then I saw the hand holding. They both started holding hands, and it hit me like a ton of bricks that my sneaky suspicions of their relationship were starting to look a lot less like mere suspicions. My son came out to reveal that him and his buddy have been dating for the past 2 years, but they are not gay. They then reveal that his buddy may indeed look like a young man, but in fact does not have male genitalia, and is indeed some kind of female. Keep in mind, I just got home from a longer day at work, looking forward to a simple night of steak and the Broncos game. Unfortunately I got a little more than I had expected. The son's girlfriend then proceeds to reach over the table and whisper into my ear, "EBB wants some fuck," at a loss for words, actions, or even thought. I simply said yes. Today we are all happily married and loving life. Okay, I laughed.